Gentlemen, let me ask you a question. Do women ever really leave a relationship without a backup plan? If you think the answer is yes, you've already lost. Behind the filtered Instagram selfies, the heart-shaped captions, and the illusion of happily ever after lies an uncomfortable truth. Most men endure, but most women prepare. While men distract themselves with side chicks, beers, and Sunday football, women who are far more calculating are quietly plotting their next move. And when the time is right, the mask slips. The difference is not accidental. This difference is evolutionary. It's actually very predictable if you are well instructed. So how does it happen? A lot of work has been done on this, and the preeminent scholar, we refer to him as the father of evolutionary psychology, David Bass. In The Evolution of Desire, he explained a phenomenon that is known as mate switching. Women, he shows, may abandon one partner if they perceive the chance to secure another partner of higher value is available. In fact, Bass cross-cultural studies found that nearly 80% of women admitted to considering alternatives while they are still in a relationship. I've spoken about this in Unplugged 2, the Plan B man, and the way women like having backup plans. Okay? So this is consistent with that idea. It's actually hypergamy in action. It's a primal instinct to trade up in terms of resources, status, or emotional fulfillment. So when you're looking at hypergamy, it's not only about money. People like talking about high value man. Sometimes it's about emotional fulfillment. So it could be status, it could be resources, or it could be emotional fulfillment. There's a book David Bass wrote with Shackelford that is titled, it's actually not a book, it's an article that appeared in Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. It's titled From Vigilance to Violence, Male Retention Tactics in Married Couples, Mate Retention Tactics in Married Couples. In that article, Bass and Shackelford say that women rarely leave a relationship cold. They cultivate contingency plans, mapping their escape routes in advance. Okay? So this is documented research, and it's a cross-cultural study. So it's not that it's applying only to maybe white people or Americans, black people, Indians, and so on. It's cross-cultural study, and hypergamy is hardwired in our DNA or in our firmware. So back home in Africa, I'm going to describe you a scenario that plays out for most men in their old age. There was a time I was watching television, and there was a man who was being interviewed. I think she was being interviewed by Jamila. This interview should be available online. And this old man was very sad. He was saying that he had helped all his children, he had educated them, and he had been a present father, and he had never had an issue with his children, but they all abandoned him when he retired. So what could have happened? It has always puzzled me until I came across the work of Rollo Tomassi and David Bass. So what we normally have, a scenario that is very common, a man spends 40 years breaking his back, okay? Maybe he's working in the city or back in the village, he's stealing land, he's paying school fees, he's building a home, he makes sure that the kids have food in their stomachs, clothes on their backs, and a roof over their heads. Finally, retirement comes, and he thinks, wow, now it's my time or my turn to rest. My wife and children will care for me, okay? But in reality, The reality that faces him hits harder than a Mike Tyson right hook. So sometimes, many times, his wife packs her bags, okay? She moves to town with the children who are now grown. And the old man is left alone in the village, staring at the goats. The same children whose mouths he fed, whose fees he paid, they now hang out or hang up with their mother and treat him like an unwanted relic. So how does this happen? Many times when you talk to, if you ask a woman this question, you'll be told you need to be a present dad, make sure you attend all the events in the school for your children, blah, 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 things like that. But there's another explanation. First of all, you have to realize hypergamy never sleeps, and hypergamy does not disappear with wrinkles. It only adjusts to new realities. When a man's economic and social utility wanes, his wife's instincts scan for security elsewhere. This happens a lot, and that's why some people say that women play the long game or the long con. So for a 60-year-old woman, the new higher value, okay, remember hypergamy is for moving upwards. The new higher value male is not necessarily another husband. Her own sons, who now hold economic and social power in town, are the new higher value male. So in red pill terms, she's monkey branching from her husband to her children as her new providers. Remember monkey branching, when a monkey is moving from one branch to the other, when it's holding this branch, it holds the next one before releasing this one, and so on. So it's the same architecture that is in play here. The rural retired man often underestimates how status signaling works. He believes that land, livestock, and his history of sacrifice will secure loyalty. But in reality, and in the urban life, his children are exposed to new values, they're exposed to modernity, they're exposed to money and consumer culture. So to them, the father is yesterday's man. Okay? The mother, however, adapts. Women are very adaptable. I normally say that men break, but women bend. So she moves in with the kids, she cooks for them, she cleans for them, babysits their children, and emotionally bonds with them. Okay? She positions herself as the indispensable figure in their new lives. In the meantime, the man becomes an old tale told at family gatherings. They talk about Baba back in the village. What about the woman? She's there every day, reinforcing loyalty. I'm going to give you some examples of monkey branching in action for some celebrity couples. We'll start with Tom Brady. Tom Brady was the quarterback who got sidelined. He was the greatest quarterback to ever touch a football. This is American football. Okay? In 2006, he met Gisele Bonchen, who was the world's top paid supermodel, according to Forbes, of 2007. Gisele was already a global superstar, moving in circles of billionaires, actors, and athletes. The romance began like a fairy tale. They were introduced by a mutual friend, and they fell in love at first sight. But when you look deeper, Brady had just left Bridget Moynihan, who was pregnant with his child. She was an actress. And in a red pill perspective, that was a glaring red flag, because Gisele was stepping into a relationship that was under messy, high stakes conditions, which was no stability, but status alignment. Okay, she was basically changing lanes because an opportunity presented itself. So for years, for quite a while, Brady and Gisele were marketed as the perfect couple. You know how in the West, the tabloids and the paparazzis, they love elevating and pedestalizing uh, these beautiful couples, the celebrity couples, marketing them as power couples and so on and so forth. However, in interviews, Giselle hinted dissatisfaction. In her 2020, by 2022, she openly complained of carrying the family, okay, while Brady was focusing on football. This was in the magazine Elle. Later, she gave him ultimatums. You better retire or you lose me. So Brady thought about it and he chose his mission. She also made a decision. She chose her exit. So by 2022, after 13 years of marriage, she filed for divorce and timed it just after Brady had reversed his retirement. Less than a year later, paparazzi spotted her with a jiu-jitsu instructor who was called Joaquim Valente. Rumors swirled that he'd been warming up the bullpen long before the ink dried on the divorce papers. Normally, warming up the bullpen is a metaphor, and it refers to keeping backups interested in case things go south. So if a woman has already seen she's planning her exit, she can have the backup, the plan B man warming up the bullpen. So in normal scenarios, it's a situation where a man thinks he's in a committed and exclusive relationship, but his girlfriend keeps chatting with male friends, and in reality, she's warming up the bullpen. So to the people who were observing Brady and Giselle, this was shocking because they thought they were a perfect couple. But to the red pill aware guys, it was textbook. Hypergamy never leaves a vacuum. Women rarely let go of one branch until the next is firmly in hand. And that is what we call monkey branching. Another very interesting story is that of Deontay Wilder, the one who was knocked out outside the ring. Deontay Wilder was a knockout king. And in 2015, when he was high at the peak of his fame, he met a lady called Telly Swift. Telly was a former fashion designer and a reality TV star from Wags, Atlanta. She was ambitious, beautiful, media savvy, and deeply fluent in what we call the economy of attention. She knew how to court attention. She was not just there along for the ride. She was positioning for leverage, as Deontay will realize later. So from the jump, red flags were waving. Okay? Wilder was already a mother of multiple children. His past relationships were in disarray. And pairing with a reality star meant optics mattered as much as intimacy. Still, the couple projected unity, engaged, were raising a child, and posting their curated happily ever after on Instagram. But behind this curated feed, a ledger was being built. Okay? In Evolution of Desire, David Bass describes this as female mate retention and mate switching strategy. Women rarely forgive, as you're going to see in the story of Deontay Wilder's. They stock grievances like ammunition. Each slip, each fight, each sign of weakness is documented and filed away. And when Wilder's career's momentum showed after his defeat to Tyson Fury, the arsenal was unleashed. In 2023, Telly accused him. She went public and accused him of physical abuse, choking, and spitting on her. To the casual observer again, this looked sudden. But in reality, it was the detonation of a plan that was years in the making. Bass and Shackelford argue that this is mate switching in action. Women exit relationships not as they abandoned, but as they justified. By the time she's quitting, she has all the justification, she has all the arsenal. Okay? So the cold reality that men must face is this. And this is a hidden economy of modern love. The first thing is monkey branching. Like hidden primates in the wild, Women don't go of one branch until another one is secured. Secondly, the Plan B man. A 2024 survey revealed that 70% of women admit to having a backup partner, often disguised as harmless, just a friend. I think there are so many songs with just a friend. Even the Luos have a song that is titled Mano Cousin. They tell you that's my cousin. Okay? So this happens a lot. One thing I normally tell guys is that if you're in an intimate or if you're in a marriage particularly and you died today, your wife already knows who is next. She may not be cheating, but she knows who is next. And this happens maybe through friend zoning these guys, sending them signals, because women are very good at sub-communication. It doesn't need to be overt or explicit, but the messages will be there. The energy will have been read. Okay? So this is just a fact. 70% of women, they have admitted to having a backup partner. And then there's a ledger effect. This is another thing that men take for granted. Women don't forget, and they rarely forgive. They archive grievances for strategic release. This is why so many men are blindsided. You've heard so many men saying during a breakup, after all I've done for you, nimetoa huyu mwanamke mbali, and things like that. Some are abandoned in middle age, some are abandoned during their retirement. Others are left on their deathbeds by wives who refuse to care for them. But I was a good man. Some men protest. The problem, they were good, but they were blind. So you have to be properly educated about female nature. So the awakening that we require is this. Rollo Tomassi in The Rational Male reminds us, the guy that she settled for is rarely the guy she dreamed about. That happens in most long-term relationships or marriages. Many times, the guy that she actually dreamed of got away, and then she settled at some point. So in that case, again, it increases the disposability of the men. You become much more expendable because you are not a first option anyway. So that's the danger of being the placeholder. Plan B, the utility man. Read about being the Plan B man in Unplugged 2. There are many men who are in Unplugged B situations or situationships, but they don't even know. Okay? So what is the lesson we are learning from these stories? The first thing is, don't ignore the red flags. Like Brady, do not sacrifice your mission for her demands. A man who leaves his post for love normally returns to find both his command and his compass missing. That's why you must have your purpose first. Also, do not assume loyalty will outlast status. Sometimes she's with you because of your status, not because she's loyal. So if you are rich or you are famous, you are a celebrity, she could be with you because of that, the limelight, because you are pre-selected. Okay? But if that goes, she also vanishes. You must be aware of that reality because it's an artifact of hypergamy. Also, if you commit an infraction, you abuse her, you cheat on her, and so on, you best believe it will never be forgiven and forgotten. That is an ammunition for later use. We call it the ledger. Okay? It will be archived. So you need to awaken, not to become bitter, but to see clearly. To play the game as it is, not as you wish it to be. And that's why we say you need to stop being blue pill, because blue pill tells you about they lived happily ever after. And normally when now the man realizes that the woman wants to leave, it gives them an existential crisis. They become depressed, they become homicidal. So you need to understand hypergamy and how it manifests itself. Stop being a good man that is walking blindfolded into the slaughterhouse. Because in love, as in boxing or football, the fight is never over until you've learned how the game is played. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question in closing. Will you be the man that is left alone in the village asking why your wife and children abandoned you? Or will you live with your eyes open, building bonds, telling your story, and never letting go of letting your value decay into invisibility? Hypergamy does not retire. Mate switching does not retire. The game does not retire. So why should you? I'll see you on the next one.